to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I've waited a long time to watch this film.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss Starchaser, The Legend of Orin, which released in 1985, from writer Jeffrey Scott and director Stephen Hahn. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Oren, a small boy who has been living his entire life in some mines digging for crystals. Lord Zygon wants the crystals to be able to send off and keep the fire of the planet alive so that the people mining the crystals don't die. But when Oren finds a magic sword handle, he realizes that there's a whole surface, a whole planet and a whole universe out there that he needs to help his people see.
It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
So this film kind of holds the title for being one of, if not the first, 3D full-feature animated movie.
Nice.
However, of course, the version that we've watched is only 2D, but I
Yeah.
can only imagine the spectacle of children in the 80s wanting to see a 3D cartoon.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, we're no stranger to 3D movies from the 80s. Of course, you always remember Friday the 13th Part 3,
Yeah.
Jaws 3, Amityville 3D,
Yeah.
Coming at Ya, Parasite, etc., etc. And so this one, I guess, just kind of got lost in the shuffle of the
Yeah.
3D movies. And I have to say, over here in the UK, I don't recall ever seeing or hearing about the promotion for this film or anyone talking about this film. It kind of literally just, it never existed for me.
Yeah. I saw this trailer. Well, I've seen this trailer a lot of times. The trailer for this film. I think it was either on the beginning of the Neverending Story VHS I had, or maybe some other, maybe the Goonies. Another VHS, there was all those trailers just before the film, and I remember just seeing Starchaser, The Legend of Orin. I'm thinking, oh my god, I need to see this, because there's this kid, he's being chased by these robots, there's lasers and a spaceship, and it looks cool.
Oh, so Star Wars.
Yeah, kind of. Well, that's how I felt, but like as the years went on, nobody ever said, hey, look, I got my copy of Starchaser today, or I've been holding on to Starchaser since I was 5. Nobody I knew actually had it, or wanted me to watch it, or, so Starchaser just kind of went under the radar until it appeared on our list, which, thank you to whoever requested it, because I finally got to watch it and finally went, I see now.
This is what I missed out on this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the moment you look up this film, you immediately get hit with it's a Star Wars ripoff.
Yeah.
It's just another Star Wars clone. And I've got to say, I think those are a little bit unfair.
I think so too, yeah.
Even though there are a lot of striking similarities between the characters, the plot, the setting, and all that kind of stuff. I think it actually works. I think it's almost original enough.
I almost think that Titan AE is a bit of a rip-off of this film. Maybe just the young character who's, going to save the universe or have this big pinnacle story in the universe, and there's these evil robots kind of chase them. I feel that more than a kind of a Star Wars rip-off. Yeah, okay, Orin is Skywalker, and there is a bit of a Han Solo rip-off, but Star Wars was big in the 80s. It was the only other sci-fi people knew.
Yeah, right. I mean, it made space operas viable again for film studios.
Yeah.
And of course, if you don't have the budget to do Star Wars, do it animated,
Yeah.
And they can literally imagine it and draw it. And I've got to say, the animation is at first, when you start the film up, a little bit off-putting. I'm just like, ooh, this is... I mean, it's not the quality that we've come to know today,
Yeah.
right? But even even for the time, I'm like, this is... It's a
rough.
step up from Saturday morning cartoons, but it looks rough around the edges.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's backed up, though, with a fantastic score and some really good voice actors. And so within 5 minutes, you don't forget you're watching an animation, but it sort of doesn't matter as much anymore.
Yeah, for it being an animated film, I got a big heavy metal vibe from
Yes.
it. It made me want to go back and watch heavy metal. But then I was like, man, heavy metal was a few years before this, and this looks as good as heavy metal. This looks old, even in '85.
Right.
The music I kind of was getting into, but I gotta admit, you say within the first 5 minutes. Yeah, there's a long 5 minutes in this film. I think it's at least 20 minutes too long.
Well, I mean, it really just sets up Oren and his. I think it does a good job establishing the fact that these humans are completely subjugated. They're slaves to these robots that almost look like Centurions from Battlestar.
Yeah,
and just whipping these humans to work and dig for these crystals. And so we meet Oren, we meet his partner, his girlfriend, we meet his brother, we meet his girlfriend's grandfather. Who literally just gets whipped across the face and dies.
yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, this whole establishing beginning is really good. But like, who were they going for? Like, what was their audience?
Children, absolutely.
Well, yeah, but the tone, the tone is so dark. Like right off the bat, I was already like.
80s films for kids tended to be quite dark.
Yeah,
but which was usually a good thing.
But this film feels like you're selling it to maybe 8-year-olds. Possibly. Like, teenagers would have missed out. Like, we fucking missed out on this as teenagers. So, like, the dark tone, is all over the place. And like I said right at the beginning, the old man gets whipped across the eyes, but he gets whipped across after he tries to distract the robot after Oren's found the sword hilt.
That's right.
In the rocks. The bit before I thought was dark as fuck, where Callie, Oren's little brother, who's blind, by the way, and the film will just knock you around the head with that, just to make sure you understand what Oren is fighting for is this blind child. He's walking along and there's a cave in. And for a second I thought, shit, they killed a blind kid already. But luckily he managed to dodge out of the way. But they killed this other boy. And so the mum comes over and she's crying, and the
robot's like, "Get back to work!"
And he's just whipping her, and I'm like, "Man, like this is
rough." Yeah.
Yeah.
So you immediately then want to root for our characters, and we wonder what this weird artifact that he's found whilst after the cave in.
Yeah.
And we get introduced to Obi-Wan Keferi.
Gandalf, the sword man.
Yes. Who literally explains that you need to find the blade to the hilt of this sword. And then you can free your people and save them all.
Yeah.
But you need to go find it.
Yeah. You need to dig up. And like, these people have been here for so long. Like, babies have been born, lived and died in these mines. So they've got this whole religion set up that digging up leads to hell. And digging down leads to heaven. The more crystals they get, they drop to Zygon. Zygon gives to the god keeps them alive. They get food and stuff when they give their crystals over. So, like, he fights with another prisoner who believes that, whatever Oren is up to is bad. And so Oren's girlfriend, Ilan, voiced by Noelle North, she convinces him that, we need to leave. We need to leave Callie behind. And Callie's like, "Oh, is it because I'm blind?" It's like, yes, Callie, you're like a liability.
It's too dangerous for one as young as you.
I'm not too young. You don't want me because I can't see. Don't leave me, Oren. I'll die without you.
And they go to escape with the sword hilt. Ilan gets killed.
Well, yeah, Zygon himself turns up and literally starts strangling her, and it's just drops her dead. I was like, well, it's a very Darth Vader-y thing to do, I suppose.
In the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the movie, Oren's not only found the sword and started to become the hero, but his girlfriend's been killed off.
Yeah, I did find that quite a surprise.
Yeah.
Because usually you'd think the two of them would be off together on this adventure, but no, he gets to shed a tear before he's ending up having to flee and start trying to dig up his own.
Yeah.
And even that's quite a turmoil as he ends up passing out at one point. These
takes
blood-sucking
ages.
leeches are eating him. He runs out of water. He loses his mining equipment, but eventually he does get to the surface, and it is a great moment.
Yes.
Where he gets tears in his eyes as he sees the stars for the very first time. I was like, that's a really good moment. Music swelled up, really, really well captured, and then we are introduced into our alien swampland. And it's not long before Oren succumbs to the robotic life that inhabits this swamp. The film doesn't do the best job at world building, but it gives you enough to surmise that, you know, robots in this future, this world, I think it's set 1,000 years ahead, and I think it's in the Andromeda galaxy somewhere.
Yeah, well, his planet's Terraria, the planet that he's on, and, you know, underneath the ground, that's where all the mines are, so that's where all the humans are. But on the surface, you've got robots, and when they capture humans on the surface, or anything living, they'll strip it, and then use the body parts for themselves. So you've got these 3 robot cannibal things planning on eating or at least using the body parts of Oren, and Oren's completely powerless against them.
Yeah, I'm just like, what do these robots need with flesh parts?
Yeah.
Why are they putting on flesh?
That's
They
it.
just look even more grotesque.
It's like, who
damn.
wants the teeth? You know, the big skull face one. I did like the guy with the kind of the hump and the
with
one
the long
arm. He's
neck.
just like, I want the one arm. But this is where, like, the sword is activated. And when the sword becomes activated, it kills off 2 of them. And Oren takes the sword hilt and manages to escape from the 3rd one. But then the 3rd cannibal says, like, look, to 2 of his mates, look, go kill him. So as they chase after Oren, he comes across Dag Drebrini, I think it is, who is basically our Han Solo character. And he blasts the 2 robots.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck's going on, movie? Like, it's still not even 30 minutes in, and, like, he's come from the mine, there's Lord Zygon, there's the fucking robots. So...
But then Dad gets grabbed by a giant leech tentacle monster thing. And Oren has to save Dad, because the sword now, even though he's just swinging the hilt, somehow is magically still cutting away.
Yeah.
And it's like the sword only activates when he needs it to.
Yeah.
Magic sword.
Magic sword.
It's almost like a lightsaber.
Like a light sword, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, like, I kept waiting to see the blade, you know, and the way it's lit up. But, it, like I said, it only seemed to activate when Oren used it, or when he really needed it at that time. He couldn't just turn it on and off, which gave it a cool mystery, but the film's still not really, like I said, world building. You know, it's just gone from one set piece to another set piece to another set piece. Everything's conveniently kind of set up. Like this next section, which... This is where they totally ripped off Star Wars, because the whole Starchaser sound effect is the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Like, it is. I don't want to sound like a massive nerd, but I know the Millennium Falcon's fucking engines, and Starchaser has them. But Dag's plan is to steal crystals from Zygon, because the crystals sell really well around the universe.
We do also find out here that Dag is completely disbelieving of Oren, that he's a human that lives in the mines beneath the surface. He's like, we all know, everybody knows that robots do all the mining down there.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that's a nice little tidbit there, because again, the film doesn't dwell on it. It just feeds you in that small amount of world building. So you're like, okay.
Yeah, that's what's really good, is that the voice acting and the actors themselves do the best they can selling their characters. And when you've got the animation working with the voices, it looks really nice. It's just not going anywhere, because it's just, like I said, action piece to action piece. Dag's just like, yeah, we don't believe you, get on my ship, we're going to fly, we're going to steal some crystals. Like, he goes to there's this whole battle sequence where he gets his bodyguard to surround him in a shield, and he just walks out into a group of robots, and they all just laser effects, you know, shooting everything. And then he throws a bomb on the door. You've got the joke with Silica, the robot kind of receptionist, where she just keeps dropping paperwork.
Every time there's an explosion somewhere, she gets outraged. The second time it happens, she storms off. But she only ends up getting grabbed by Dag, who uses her as a shield as they're running back to the ship.
That's it. Zygon comes along and goes to attack them, and as Dag is distracted...
I think it's hilarious, right? Like, I mean, imagine it's a Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and there's like 3 rebel troopers, like, you know, like writing graffiti on the Death Star.
Yeah.
And Darth Vader himself comes to the front door to shoo away the troublemakers. I'm like, why is the leader of this?
Because that's it. He's got to be everywhere. He's Lord Zygon. He's our bad guy. But yeah, he literally is involved in everything. And the problem is, every time he gets involved, they get away.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, Yeah, I mean, there's like I'm just jumping the gun here a little bit. There's a moment where he ends up capturing Oren, isn't there? And he's just like, well, now I have you, Oren. I may as well tell you my entire plan and the entire history and secret about what we're doing here.
Spoilers.
You're going to die anyway.
Yeah, but I'll tell you now. Oh, and after I've told you, then I'll throw you in a cell. Because I can't just shoot you. That would be too evil.
Totally inept.
That's it. So Dag and Oren escape from Terraria on their ship, and Oren's completely upset because he's left his brother. I love the space flashback when he's looking out the window and his brother appears and goes, "Are you leaving me, Oren? Is it because I'm blind?" And I was like, "Fuck you, movie. Fuck you."
You have no right to go crawling around inside me. No! It's against the treaty and
You don't want me because I can't see. Don't leave me, Oren. I'll die without you.
Now, I don't know how else to interpret this scene.
But I know.
But Silica is not behaving the way that Dag would like, and so he ends up holding her down against her will, and wants to reprogram her so that she's more receptive to him.
Yes.
And the ship's computer, I think, what was it, Arthur?
Arthur. It was either Arthur or Arthur.
I think it's Arthur.
I think Arthur was Arthur.
Yeah, is just like, well, Dag, I don't know how to tell you this, but if you want to reprogram her, then you're going to have to open up her butt.
Yeah.
It's in her posterior.
Yeah, her personality chip is in her butt.
So Dag roots around and anal probes this robot.
Tapes her mouth first.
Yep, tapes her mouth and then reprograms her to make her more subservient and incredibly flirtatious with Dag.
What was really awkward, and and like I said, 80s cartoons did kind of have that trope with small audiences that the adults would slip in little jokes. But he's rooting through her butt, reprogramming her while he's talking to Oren. And Oren's like, "Look, Dag, I've got to go back to my planet. I need to save my people." And Dag's like, "No, I helped you. You helped me. We're done. I'm going to drop you off to the first planet." And while he's there, Silica is just like, and just making all these noises that you're just like, and he's rooting through her butt.
Yep.
Why do you risk your life stealing crystals?
Because, my little water snake, the tax collectors of this galaxy turn an honest worker into a slave. A bit of my crystals are the main source of fuel for the Bordigan fleet. There.
Yeah. So, content warning for children watching this, I suppose. But yeah, Dag ends up taking them down to this planet, and he's just like, "Yeah, Oren, you're on your own now. See ya."
Yeah, he drops them off at Mos Eisley. Topa, I think it is.
Right. But he's not quite done with Silica yet. He takes her to an auction house and sells her. It's like, my God,
no. Well, yeah, I mean, technically he sells her, but it does play out, like I say, so conveniently as well. Oren's been dropped off. He's gone and spoken to some strange fortune teller who convinces him. She's a complete false fortune teller, but she convinces Oren, because he doesn't know any better, that he should go to this planet and he'll find the sword there. And he sees the robot get taken to the auction, so he goes up there, and while he's talking to the blatant Princess Leia princess next to him, who doesn't appear again for another 30 minutes, but as long as you remember that she's here now, they trade off auctioning for the Fembot. And Dag had already made the plan with the auction master, hadn't he?
To get a percentage of the
sale. To get a percentage of whatever the sale is. And so when he comes back, he looks at the auction house, he goes, "Ha, so how much you sell it for?" And he goes, "I sold it for $2,000 to that man there." And Oren goes, "Hi."
And it's like, "What?
I've got no money."
He's like, "Yeah, Oren, how do you wish to pay?" And he's like, Pay? Money? What's a patrol?" He is so, I mean, granted, like, he's never been to the surface before, but it's what he is such a he's a dullard. I don't like Oren very much. He is so bland.
Imagine if Luke Skywalker literally knew fuck all about the universe. Like, he literally got to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's like, "This is a spaceship," and Luke was like, "What?" That's Oren.
Yeah, he's not the brightest. He's not the smartest. He's very dull, but he's the hero.
But it balances, I suppose, as well against Dag's character, because Dag is the ultimate Han Solo. Like, that cigar never falls from his mouth until he gets tortured later on, and he still gets one back. Like, he literally, the whole time he's talking, he's chewing on it, he's just looking cool. He gets the Fembot, he pulls her on board his ship. and they go flying off again, but they start getting chased by the space police, don't they?
Yes.
Because Lord Zygon has put out the alert to the space police. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, all the different bounty hunters getting the call.
And we've seen them in all their different locations, and then they all decide to get together and chase after the fucking Starchaser, which I like. I'm trying to remember that they crashed on the jungle planet.
That's
didn't
right. Yeah.
Like they're flying along, and Arthur's just like screaming at them. It's like, "Watch out! Wait, what up?" Blam! Right in the cockpit. Arthur's dying now.
yeah, it needs repairs, and well, even before they actually crashed on the planet, they did actually go to somewhere else where Dag ends up dropping off all of the crystals.
Yeah,
and
the desert
trade-off.
planet. Yeah.
And they give him basically a crate of money, and when they get back on the ship, they open it up and realize there's a bomb in there, and they end up flying back and dropping the bomb off. I was like, yeah, okay, we've got some racist characters in the film, some stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's 85. That happened a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they ended up crashing, Zygon ends up capturing Dag.
Yeah.
And Oren gets taken. He ends up waking up in a bed. Like, we've got this parrot, this bird squawking. Like, what the hell? He's been captured by royalty?
Yeah.
Because, well, she's not a princess, but she is the daughter of, like, an executive of some kind. So, very prominent, important figure.
Yeah.
And she's not buying Oren's story at first.
Like nobody believes that he's a slave.
Right. But she soon rallies to his cause, like, actually, I believe you. You must be telling the truth. So we're off on an adventure now. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was weird because when he wakes up, he calls her Elan.
Yeah.
But then realizes it's Ariana.
Yeah,
is the character. But they're both voiced by the same person.
Well, yeah,
So I was
yeah.
like, okay.
So that was kind of like a cool little fade. When he wakes up, he sees his ex-girlfriend, and then she kind of becomes the new girlfriend. But it's so quick. You know, literally from like at least 45, 50 minutes ago, I watched his girlfriend die, and now you're already shoving the newest one in me. Like, the animator must have had a right fun time drawing in her cleavage and then angling it in such great shots that even 40-year-old me was like, thanks, man.
Frame by frame.
Yeah.
Frame by frame.
Frame by frame. And yeah, so Zygon is like torturing Dag at this point as well, trying to get as much information from Dag as they can. So then when Ariana and Oren turn up back at Terraria, you know, she goes and speaks to Zygon, because it turns out Zygon's actually a prominent figure in business around the rest of the universe, because he takes all the crystals that he gets and he sells them to everybody. You know, so he's rich, he's powerful, he's built up this entire robot army, and this is where he drops his whole plan to Oren. And I was like, at this point, I was like, okay, this completely changes the whole Star Wars idea, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Darth Vader didn't do fucking any of this.
Well, Darth Vader was competent. He knew what he did.
Yeah,
It's the reason why he's an icon of cinema villains.
Yeah, and Zygon's
not.
No.
But yeah, I mean, they end up. I mean, we have the whole flashback again where Ariana's being held up.
Yes.
By Zygon, and Zygon's like, "Oh, give me the thing, or I'll kill her now."
Yeah.
And you know, there's again a cool moment, animated. It delivers it well. Where Oren's having PTSD of his previous girlfriend dying.
Yeah.
And where he's like, "Okay, I have to surrender now because I'm not gonna let you die too."
But he catches Lord Zygon's face, and it reveals that Zygon's actually a robot.
Yeah.
And he's like King Ding-a-ling robot.
Well, he's also the robot that apparently died over 1,000 odd years ago.
Yeah, there's supposedly, like, this has happened a lot. This sword is an ancient artifact and has been used many, many times by many different other prominent people in history to overthrow some kind of tyrant or horrible dictator, you know, which obviously, you know, Zygon is now the latest one and Oren is the latest chosen one to take him on. But Zygon explains, like, he's put robots everywhere in the universe. He's used his entire money and wealth and power situation that he's gotten from the crystals. Him and his robot buddies forced all the humans underneath ground like 1,200 years ago. You know, well, at least 1,200 years ago plus, because they had a rebellion 1,200 years ago.
Right.
But he managed to kind of avert that one or whatever. They've kept the humans on the ground. They've built all these they've taken the crystals out. He's sold them around the universe. He's then built up this robot army, and now he's going to use his robot army to destroy Ariana's dad, because now that he's kidnapped Ariana and Oren, her dad's bound to come and kill him. So if he kills the dad first, then then he can at least take on the rest of the universe and subjugate humans because robots evil, all that kind of stuff. And so he's got this huge fucking armada set up of fucking
You see them all just
battleships.
jumping in, warping in.
and battle robots and stuff like that. But instead of just killing like the people that could stop him, he decides to. Well, he sticks them in a cell, but they escape, don't they? Because
Oren's got his magic sword, but he also has the magic fairy thing that's
Right.
been floating around
Yeah.
and helping him throughout. And this orb of light flies into a robot.
Yeah.
And then the robot very slowly raises his gun and blows its head off.
Blows its own head off.
And the fairy thing carries on again.
And it manages to pick up the sword hilt.
Yeah, and carry it
carry
all the
it.
way
Through walls.
Yeah, through walls,
Through
but also
walls.
carries it right under the nose of Vader.
Yeah.
All the way back to Oren.
All back to Oren. Yeah. It can read electronic panels and stuff like that and tell you exactly where it turns out
That's cheating.
Spoilers. It turns out there's 6 individual different ones, but the movie doesn't actually explain that. You kind of feel like it's the same one, but it's not. But yeah, so they've stolen their sword. They've got onto this battleship. They've killed the commander of the battleship as well.
Yeah.
And this battleship, obviously because robots are stupid, is the one that controls all the
of
other
them.
battleships. Good one, Rise of Skywalker writers.
So stupid.
Because Oren and Dag managed to use the weaponry of their battleship to destroy all of the robots and all the robot battleships that are surrounding this universe. So Zygon is just pulling out the last of his hair again. I honestly, this is where the film is 107 minutes, which is
It's like an hour and 40 minutes.
40 minutes. And it started to drag at this point, and I really just felt like Zygon, even the Shredder and Turtles did better than you on some missions. You were literally just
It was time for Zygon to split.
failing. Yeah. But you had that commander. I did like the commander later on. So once they've returned, they've gone through the evil base, haven't they? They've returned back to Terraria. Ariane has had this speech with Dag, look, he helped us, we need to help him, kind of thing. And they're flying through the evil base, and the evil base has basically just left a path for them to fly through. It's turned off everything.
Do they literally fly through a tunnel like the Millennium Falcon does through the
they
Death
do.
Star?
Yeah, Starchaser chasing them. Zygon's plan of luring them into a trap completely fails because he has to just alert all fighters, and the fighters weren't fucking ready.
I know, like you were leading an invasion force.
you had to wait till the ship got into the certain point, then launch them all. But it's the part where there was a commander who he's telling Zygon look, we're losing, we really need to get out of here. And Zygon's like, no, I'm going to stay. So the commander fucks off. And he opens up this door. And as he comes out, Dag has accidentally hit another fighter. And the fighter's crashed onto this bridge. And it's flying along the bridge. And it hits the commander and falls off the bridge. And falls into the tractor beam, which had held of Starchaser at the same time. And helped Starchaser escape.
Yeah. Oh, that was a coincidence. Yeah.
A lot of just...
It's pretty rapid action. But for a cartoon, it's very, very good.
Yeah.
For a feature film, it's kind of serviceable, but it's I wanted to really get involved or feel the action, but for me the action felt really flat, really for the most part.
That's what I mean. I think it was just too easily coincidental. Certain things would happen that when it all paid off, you were like, "Ha! Didn't see that coming."
Yeah.
The thing I didn't see coming, which really did kind of shock me, and I had to talk to Gary about it because I was really confused, was Zygon and Oren finally meet. Oren is blatantly just destroying Zygon's entire empire, and he comes out to the people and he goes, look, I've come from the surface, for overthrow the robot slaves, we don't have to work for Zygon. And him and Zygon confront each other, and Zygon tries to use the sword on him, and it won't work.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that Oren had the power in him the whole time.
I mean, he didn't need to go and find the blade like his adventure was supposed to be about.
Yeah.
The blade was in him the whole time. He just needed to go and find himself. Therefore, the blade. So now he can kill Zygon, which he does. He cuts him in two, and Zygon does the
Darth Maul.
yeah.
But so Oren could have literally just picked up the sword hilt at the beginning and just started killing everybody and rescued everybody right at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't believe in himself then, so no.
He had to go off.
But he could have done.
He could have.
If he believed himself. But he didn't.
He didn't.
Because he's Oren.
I mean, Fembot girl as well and Dag are flying through the Starchaser after they've destroyed their fucking warship, and she decides to shoot the crystals because she thought it was a good plan.
And Dag's like, no, the money!
Yeah, well, not only that, but they're also explosive. We knew that from the beginning of the film. So everything really just starts to explode, and you think there's going to be a whole massive cave-in as well.
There probably was.
Yeah,
probably was.
There were probably a few that we didn't see. But this is where, obviously, Oren manages to get all of his people to the surface.
Yeah.
And the people are rescued, and he's got Ariana. And not only that, but Callie. Remember Callie? Oh, you don't like me because I'm blind, Callie. He heals him. He fucking heals him.
He's got, like, miracle powers now. He believes in himself so much.
Yeah.
He's like, here, I cure your blindness.
The space Gandalf, space wizard, turns up with the other history ancestors of the energy sword, and they're like, hey, Oren, you know, if you want...
Come with us now.
Come join us. And Oren's just like, well, no, I want to stay here and have sex with my girlfriend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And they're like, yeah, okay, that's fine. We'll see you later. Bye. And they fairy form out of there.
Yeah, so he's still got the energy sword in him, or they took it with them?
Well, I think once you have it within you, it's always within you.
Right, so... But,
I don't know. Well, the film ends so abruptly. I'm just like, oh.
Because, like, is there going to be, like, another rebellion? Because Zygon fell in lava, so I'm like, is he fucking dead
I think
now?
he's dead this time.
Dead this time?
Maybe. I mean, by this point, he might have transferred his consciousness, his AI.
Like, there's definitely no Starchaser 2.
There isn't, no. So, for all we know, it ended there.
Ah. Remake.
Well, Ian, did you have any favourite scenes from Starchaser?
I had a couple. I mean, I did like kind of the opening setup, you know, the people being underneath the ground. It kind of made me think of Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, you know, where they're just kind of looking for the crystals and things like that. But when he did come out onto the surface, I loved the look of the alien planet, the alien world. I mean, that kind of animation, it's always still look cool. That, you know, so, you know, it's when they do the lightly shading in the background and the dark shading up front, so you can see what they're actually going to work with. The space flashbacks, you know, when he looks out the window and he sees his brother again, Callie, like, that hurt movie. That really hurt. Like, you wanted me to remember his blindness. I really liked seeing all of the robot bounty hunters in all their different places as well, getting ready to obviously chase down Oren and Dag. I like the part where they were being chased by the space police, and they come flying down with the Starchaser, and he actually uses the landing leg to decapitate one of the robots, and the robots scream like, ah! Zygon's evil plan, you know, from man to robot, how he's going to be just taken over. It's pure James Bond.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
He's just looking at Oren like, I could just kill you and then tell you my plan. It won't matter then, but if I tell you now, then Oren can go off and tell everybody. And then the return to Tyrannia, you know, finding the power inside himself to slice Zygon in half, and obviously saving, you know, Callie's eyes. I kind of did like the bum bit earlier as well, but I wasn't going to bring that up.
Okay. Up as hell. Never dig up.
Yeah.
That was one of my favourite quotes in the film. I was just like, it was the way it was delivered.
Yeah.
And the way that it is almost like a mantra for this entire civilization in this mine. So yeah, that for whatever reason that stuck with me. But I do think that for me the strongest part of the film was the opening all the way up until he's rescued by Dag.
Yeah.
And then they fly off. I was like, all of that up until that point, I was really behind. For me, the rest of the film kind of doesn't deliver. It's not as strong as its opening. But yeah, from the moment where he climbs his way up and he sees the stars, sheds his tears, and then runs through the swamp, all the way up to that point, I was really, really enjoying the film. So all before that was favourite scene. And I have to say the robot designs of the 3 mutant cannibal-like creatures, I thought they were very memorable as well. Even though they only have one scene, it's very short, they left an impact. Like I said, again, they were still a part of that whole opening bit, though. So, yeah. When the fairy flies into the robot's head and gets it to blow its brains out, it's just like, my God, I was not expecting that. It was the fact that it was so slowly done.
Yeah.
You know, it was, because I'm trying to wonder, is the robots in this world are sentient.
Yeah, they're kind of alive, aren't they?
They are alive.
Yeah, they're alive.
And so when they get violated, like Silica does, I'm just like, oh my God, it's pretty terrible when you think about it.
Yeah.
I best not think about it too much. And I have to go with when Zygon tells the big secret, when he's just like, well, you're going to die now, so here's my whole plan of what I've been doing for the last 1,000+ years.
Yeah.
So silly, so stupid. You literally just facepalm and groan the moment it happens, but it's fine. Ian, do you recommend Starchaser?
I kind of do. I mean, like, if you're in the mood for an 80s animated sci-fi movie, like, this is up there, but at the same time I also find it's very forgettable. Like I watched it and then literally the next morning I woke up, I was like, what did I do yesterday? Oh, I watched Starchaser, and then I kind of remembered certain bits, but like it didn't enthrall me, excite me to go, oh I can't wait to watch that again or tell people to watch it. I think I may have dodged the bullet when I was young. Maybe I should have watched it when I was young and I would have raved about it more. It rips off Star Wars, or Star Wars rips it off. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I can only somewhat recommend Starchaser, The Legend of Orin, as an animated relic, which has been lovingly crafted with a great mix of animation and early CGI, topped with a solid voice acting and sound effects, and a decent score by Andrew Belling, which all helps bring this world to life, even if it sounds and looks all too familiar to other space operas at the time. I do think Starchaser separates itself enough, though, with some great robot designs, aliens and spaceships. The animation can look very dated by today's standards, but for kids of the 80s, this was a huge step up from Saturday morning cartoons, with the added feature of 3D as well. This film would have been worth talking about, but in the UK, don't remember anyone having watched this. The story is compelling, the characters mostly likeable, but in the case of Oren, the protagonist, I found him rather dull and bland and not that interesting, especially compared to Dag, who still is a rather shady character whose actions will definitely raise a few eyebrows, along with some subtle and not so subtle racism and sexualization of robots and other characters in this world. In all, I wasn't ever really bored by Starchaser. It just never really resonated with me, so I'm a little indifferent all in all. I mean, those who remember it fondly will likely enjoy a nostalgic trip down film memory lane with this one. As the search for the Force is over, the adventure is about to begin. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Because I can't see.